what's up guys? Inswain with Inswain Audio. Today we're going to be talking about, should you be checking your mix in mono? Let's get into it. Okay, so first, what is mono? Mono is when the left and the right channels are summed, right? So that's when there's no stereo field, so to speak. So the left and the right speaker are playing the same thing, or the left and the right headphone, right? Or sometimes there's only one speaker, right, on some phones, or like a Bluetooth speaker. That's what mono is. Now, some people think that you should mix in mono, but then turn it into stereo at the end of the mix. Some people think that you should mix, primarily in stereo, then switch to mono occasionally. Really, there's everything on a broad spectrum of different beliefs out there. So with that being said, first, let's see, how do we check our mix in mono? All you have to do is put some sort of utility or gain plugin on your master bus, something that has a mono button on it, a mono function. A lot of plugins have this, a lot of stock plugins. So just put some sort of utility or gain plugin on your master bus and select the mono option, and it should collapse your whole mix down into mono. So why would you want to do this? Well, the first reason is it makes it more apparent when you have frequency masking issues, right? When two elements or more in your mix are clashing with each other, or they have overlapping frequencies that, aren't really playing well together. Collapsing your mix down to mono will make this more apparent. And the reason for this is because sometimes when things are clashing, we kind of pan them to get around this, which can be, helpful, and it can solve the issue. But when we put it in mono, it makes it more apparent, and it'll show us if we need to do further processing with like EQ or something to, clear up that masking. Also, when our mix is in mono, it's easier for us to hear the balance in terms of volume level in the relationship between instruments, right? So when we're in mono, we don't have the left and the right field kind of throwing off our perception of volume and depth, etc. So we can really hear the relationship between the elements in the mix and, realize if we need to make further adjustments to our balancing. Another reason, and my personal favorite, is it just gives us a new perspective on the mix, right? We're hearing it in a new light, so to speak. It's almost like having a free mix assistant with you to offer their opinions. That's how I see it. When we're working on these songs and these sessions for so long, it's easy to become accustomed to how it sounds and kind of get like blind spots to what we need to be hearing because we've heard it so many times. But when you throw it in mono, you get a new perspective, and it can just, enlighten you or shine a light on things that you might have missed before. What you don't want to do with this mono trick, though, is you don't want to mix through mono predominantly. Maybe you do, and some people think that that helps them, and if it works for you, then definitely do that. But in my opinion, the mix is going to be stereo in most cases, and most people are going to be hearing it in stereo playback of some sort. So while it is important to check our mix in mono, and it can be helpful, ultimately it only matters what it sounds like in stereo, right? We're just using this mono trick to give us a fresh perspective, or to, show us things we wouldn't have heard in stereo, but we're doing it to service that stereo mix. So that's why I don't believe in mixing through mono, at least not a lot, right? Don't mix predominantly in mono, because we're ultimately making a stereo mix. Another thing you want to be careful of is don't make decisions based off of what you hear when your mix is in mono if you don't hear them in stereo, right? We're supposed to be doing this to give us a new perspective, or to enlighten us and show us things that we didn't hear. But if when we put it back in stereo, if it's not an issue, then is it really an issue? Maybe, because mono playback is important, but ultimately, like I said, we're making a stereo mix, so the stereo is the king, right? So as long as it's good in stereo, I wouldn't try to make too many decisions based on what we hear in mono, because you don't want to make too much of a sacrifice and ruin your stereo mix to service the mono mix, which is, in most cases, not going to be how most people are hearing it anyways. So use mono to help your stereo mix. All right, and one little bonus tip here with this mono trick is it's really good at telling you if your vocals are too loud or too quiet. Like I said, it'll help you with your balancing in terms of the levels of things, especially with the vocal. I think it's because, usually our vocals are in mono or pretty center in the stereo field. So we can really tell if the vocal is too loud or too quiet when it's in mono. So sometimes when I'm pocketing my vocal and I'm deciding is it, what level it should be at, or I'm doing some automation rides, I'll listen to it in mono to kind of double check and make sure that, maybe my vocal is way too loud, but I didn't realize it because I was so used to the stereo mix, or it's too quiet, etc. Right? So I'll use the mono trick to really help me, get my vocal at the right level. So there you have it, guys. That is the little mono trick. It really helps a lot. I put a utility gain plugin on my master bus every time I'm mixing, and occasionally I'll just switch the mono on for a second and listen, to kind of reset my ears, get a fresh perspective, make sure everything is, sounding how I expect it to be. So with that being said, thank you guys for sticking around. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that. My name is Inswain with Inswain Audio. Check out the links in my description. Check out my website. Peace.